This video is going to be my top 10 movies of 2012. I did something like this before on my channel. I did a top 10 of 2010. I didn't do one for 2011. I guess I got lazy, I don't know. But I wanted to do one for this year, because there were a lot of great movies that came out this year, in my opinion. So I want to do a video about it. Nothing too fancy or anything, no clips, just me talking. Hopefully it's not too boring. And if it is, I apologize. But yeah, I just wanted to, offer my opinions on what I thought were the best movies of this last year. As I've said before, I should stress this again. I'm not a professional critic of any kind, any way, shape, or form. Just a Joe Schmo moviegoer. So I don't see every movie that comes out. I don't even try to. I'll just see what interests me, basically. So I saw most of the movies that I wanted to see. There's a few that I haven't seen that I kind of wanted to see, but I think for the most part I saw what I wanted to see, and I liked a lot of the movies this year. So without any further ado, this is my top 10 of 2012. Number 10 is The Avengers. What can I say? When it comes to just pure entertainment, this is just, you can't beat this movie. You really can't. It's kind of amazing what they pulled off, putting in all this time and effort, creating these movies that are leading up to the Avengers, like Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk, Thor, Captain America. They really did a good job paving the way for it, and this is kind of, a milestone, really, of a movie, and they really did it justice. It was really kind of like the closest thing possible to, in movie form, experiencing what it's like to read a series of comic books, because you would see the crossovers and things like that. It's not like a literal translation of, every single comic book character in the movie, but I thought they did a good job. Joss Whedon just pulled everything off terrifically, I thought. He found the strengths in the characters, found what would make them conflict, and found what they could ultimately, bring them together for, the ultimate fight of the movie. So I thought they did a great job with the movie, and no, it doesn't reinvent the wheel in any way for, in terms of plot. But what they did instead, they went with something pretty basic, and they followed through very well with it. And not every single movie needs to be this insanely intricate and complicated plot. It's a simple plot. You could read into it a little bit deeper. You could probably draw some comparisons to Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven, whatever. You could do that, and I'd say you'd be pretty justified in doing so. But for what it is, just a great action movie, a real just showcase of these great superheroes all coming together. The action was amazing, non-stop, hugely entertaining. You gotta love Robert Downey Jr. Who doesn't love Robert Downey Jr., really? As Iron Man. He leads the whole cast. He's kind of like the granddaddy of them all. He's the one who got everything started with Iron Man, so I thought, the whole cast did a great job. Great, huge, entertaining movie. It's going to be hard to top, and this will be imitated quite a bit. So this kind of paved the way for, how far they can take the comic book genre. It is a legitimate genre now, so this is something that, it's going to go down as a classic, I think. Number 10 on my list is Safety Not Guaranteed, which stars the love of my life, Aubrey Plaza. Yeah, I have a little bit of bias of the movie. Well, first, wanting to see the movie, because I love Aubrey Plaza, and I'm a huge Parks and Recreation fan. So that's what kind of made me want to watch the movie. What was surprising was how good the movie was. When you think about it, it's probably the only movie that I can think of off the top of my head that's literally based on a personal ad that's 3 lines long. I need someone to go back in time with me, bring your own weapons, safety not guaranteed, blah, blah, blah. Turns out that's not a real ad, at least not a sincere ad. It was professionally written as filler for a magazine, which I found out from the special features of the movie. And it's interesting the direction they took the movie. That ad, it became kind of like a phenomenon on the internet, really. You'd see it kind of parodied on internet videos and stuff, and it became kind of this huge joke. No one knew if it was serious or not. Turns out it wasn't, of course. But they could have made this they honestly could have gone any direction with this. They could have made it a completely zany comedy, with like maybe like Will Ferrell or Ben Stiller, going back in time fighting dinosaurs or something stupid like that. But what they did, they found something incredibly human about the movie, which I found really surprising, because it's not really like a science fiction type movie. It really is like a down to earth human movie. Kind of makes you think, like, what would you personally do if you had the ability to go back in time? I don't think a lot of people, honestly, I don't think a lot of people would go, dinosaurs, whatever. I think a lot of people would reflect on their own personal lives and what they would do in their lives and what they would change, and the people who they show more love towards that maybe they should have and didn't get the chance. So that's the heart of the movie. And the movie's not 100% perfect. I mean, it lags in some areas, I guess. And I do think some people, and unjustifiably, I think, they kind of just kind of set aside Jake Johnson's role as the newspaper editor, and his whole subplot with the ex-girlfriend, trying to reconnect with her. A lot of people said it was kind of tacked on just for time filler, but I completely disagree with that, because when you think about the whole movie and what it stands for, what it's truly about, what is his character other than kind of like a symbolic time traveler? He's trying to capture a time from his youth where he had this girlfriend. So I thought that was a really interesting switch on it. So it's not like this huge sci-fi thing. It does have sci-fi elements to it, and I won't give away any spoilers or anything. But other than that, it's just a really human movie, and I was really surprised by it. It was one of the biggest surprises of this year, because honestly, I was just I was going to watch it just for, Aubrey Plaza being adorable. And she is anyway, and she's great in the movie. And Jake Johnson, he was incredible in the movie, and actually inspired me to watch New Girl. And it's not a bad show, by the way. But yeah, anyway, I think that's a great movie. One of the more overlooked movies of the last year. Number 8 on my list is Moonrise Kingdom, directed by Wes Anderson. I am honestly a Wes Anderson fan. I love his movies, and usually when it comes time to reflect on the movies that I liked during a certain year, usually his movies will stand out for me. I just like him. I know not everybody loves him, and he has a certain quirky, precocious style, but I like it. What can I say? And with this movie, I do think it's one of his stronger movies and one of his best movies. Kind of because it's more than anything, it is a love story, about these two kids, these two outcasts who kind of, just find love, and it's a cute movie. It really is, and it kind of reminds me of like a Charlie Brown, where the parental figures, the adults, they're kind of in the periphery. The main story is the two kids, and that's where the heart of the movie lies. And I thought everything in the movie came together exceptionally well. It has one of the more satisfying endings of any Wes Anderson movie I've seen. And the supporting cast is just, I thought they were great, like Edward Norton, Bill Murray, who doesn't love Bill Murray, Frances McDormand, Tilda Swinton, who looks like she's just walking out of Oliver or something. I thought that was great. And the two kids, Jared Gilman and Kara Howard, I believe their names are. Who knows who they are, right? So I thought for two unknowns and two kids, carrying a movie like this, I thought they did a very good job. And their performances are great, and I think they are going to have really good careers ahead of them, I think. Number 7 on my list is Skyfall. I love the James Bond movies. After the hugely disappointing Quantum of Solace, which, after Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, what the hell was Quantum of Solace? Oh, it was so bad. But I'm a James Bond fan. This movie is one of the best James Bond movies, period. I would say in the top 3. Just really, kind of just explored things about James Bond that I never really even considered. And it does kind of remind us why we fell in love with Daniel Craig in the role in the first place. And, he does have dimension to him, a lot more than, Sean Connery could, because, with his, curled eyebrow and his, smug grin. Sean Connery never felt like he was in trouble as James Bond. Daniel Craig, however, really human of a character, very vulnerable, And I thought some of the themes that they explored with the movie were very interesting, like particularly about, new technology, because, when you think of James Bond, you think of all these gadgets, but this movie kind of flips it over on its head, being like, well, maybe, new technology isn't where it's at. So you got James Bond, you have the evil asshole played by Javier Bardem, who's great in his role, and Judi Dench is M caught in the middle. It's kind of this whole new technology versus old technology kind of thing. The movie, spoilers, it ends in a farmhouse in Scotland of all places. Never in a million years would I would think, the climactic final scene of a James Bond movie would take place there, but it was fantastic. And symbolically, kind of look at the movie like it is kind of, it's a story of, like M as the mother figure of the two sons. They're both assumedly orphans, kind of, found, a maternal figure in her, and, followed the ideals of, Queen and country for England. And she's stern, and she basically, in their own particular situation, she leaves them both to die by just following orders, doing what she thinks is right. And while Javier Bardem's character, he turns twisted and turns into a monster, James Bond stays loyal to her. And so it's this kind of interesting, a mother and her two sons kind of struggle. I thought that was very interesting about the movie. Of course, the action is great. Sam Mendes' direction is great. The music is just fantastic. And it's one of the most pleasant-looking Bond movies that I've seen. The great cinematography really is fantastic. And yeah, I honestly think this is one of the best James Bond movies. Definitely in the top 3. Number 6 on my list is Lincoln. Now, honestly, I wasn't really expecting to love the movie as much as I did. Like, I love Steven Spielberg, I love Daniel Day-Lewis, but, I saw the trailers for this movie, and, it didn't look that interesting. Kind of like a sweeping biopic of the life and times of Abraham Lincoln, blah, 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 blah. But I'm glad I actually went to see the movie, because this is one of the more surprising movies for me. I thought it was going to be Oscar bait kind of movie, and in a way it is, and it has been nominated for Oscars, obviously. But it was not what I was expecting at all. What the movie essentially is, it is about Lincoln's campaign against slavery. So that's all it's about. It's about him trying to get the amendment passed, and how it dealt with it, and all the legal trickery and all the schmoozing and underhanded stuff that Lincoln had to do, and you could tell that he was a good person. He had the drive he saw something that wasn't right, and he wanted to end it. And the movie is so good, and it takes you to this time so convincingly that you're almost kind of watching. You're like, oh my God, I hope he succeeds in this, and of course he does. But this is the kind of movie that you'll like. They'll show kids this in high school or grade school or whatever, and it's going to seem almost like science fiction, because something as just detestable as slavery to ever exist, it almost seems like bad science fiction. But the movie, it's a talking head movie. It is sort of political. Daniel Day-Lewis is just exceptional as Abraham Lincoln. There's no video recording of Abraham Lincoln or anything. We don't have a reference for him, but I'll be damned if he's not Lincoln. When I'm watching that movie, I'm not watching Daniel Day-Lewis. I'm watching Abraham fucking Lincoln on screen. That's how convincing he is. And the supporting cast is Sally Field. James Spader was great in the movie. I wasn't expecting him. Just a who's who of supporting players and character actors, from like older character actors, to like Bruce McGill is in it, to newer actors like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and of course the legendary Tommy Lee Jones, who's great in the movie. They all do a great job, and it's a really great piece of history. It's not to be taken too literally. It is, it's a fictional movie, and it is based on history. But if you just look at it for what it is, don't take history too much into account. It's a great morality play, and just a really, really special movie, I think. And one of Spielberg's best, at least in the most recent years. And yeah, I was honestly surprised at how much I loved the movie, and well deserving of